What's going on, everyone? Today I want to talk about something that's been driving me absolutely insane, and I'm sure it's been driving you insane too. Have you guys noticed how more and more people nowadays think the entire world should revolve around them? I mean, quite literally, you cannot escape it. Like, for example, you'll be scrolling on TikTok, Instagram, wherever you get your content, and you'll see a video of someone doing something regular, like, I don't know, making a spaghetti recipe, right? You know, this girl's making a spaghetti recipe, and she casually mentions how she uses rosemary in her recipe. You go to the comments and you see someone say something like, "I'm allergic to rosemary. Maybe you should think about that next time before you post something like this."
Be nice. I'm finding it.
I'm gonna try not to be mean when I say this, but are you okay? Like, mentally up here, are you okay? A normal person would think, okay, you know, I'm gonna do this recipe and I'm gonna skip the rosemary since I'm allergic. But nope, we live in a world now where some people genuinely think that everything needs to be personalized to them. And it's not just you and me that's noticed this, okay? The internet has noticed this and they've diagnosed these people with what about me-ism. And I mean, the symptoms are really clear. Basically, they make everything that's not about them somehow about them.
We are living in the golden age of, how can I make this about me? How can I make this about me? And frankly, I am so exhausted. I could post a video saying, I love strawberries, and someone will immediately comment,
No, some of us are allergic to strawberries.
And I feel like it's very easy to write it off as like a lack of common sense or critical thinking, but I don't think it's that. We make everything about ourselves and seek out accommodations and validation for everything.
I've said it once and I'll say it again. I think you guys suffering from what about me-ism and really just being entitled to the point where it's becoming an online epidemic is ruining the vibes for the rest of us. You're ruining the vibes here. This internet used to be fun. Being overly sensitive for no reason, canceling everything on God's green fucking earth for no reason.
It's this mindset that instead of just scrolling past something you're not interested in, or even clicking the button that was designed specifically to help your algorithm know that you are not interested in that content, people demand that it's actually you that needs to be sensitive to their own preferences, ideas, beliefs, and that your content must revolve around them. Like, literally, why? So that's what we're going to be talking about today. If you're new here, my name is Natalie, and this is where I share ways I'm getting my shit together so that you can get your shit together. So if that sounds good to you, be sure to hit that like, subscribe, and hype button. That is a new button that actually pushes out my video into the algorithm. It's basically the same as like 3 likes. Go ahead and hype this video up because I feel like someone's gonna get mad at me for saying this, but I don't care. We've all met a person who's like somehow addicted to drama or arguing, and I feel like these type of people are kind of similar to the what about me's. I wouldn't be surprised if the person that you knew in real life who somehow is always involved in drama or arguing is usually the person that's commenting something inflammatory under these type of people's posts. It's like you're talking to a wall. You could say, have a good day, and they'll be like,
"Are you saying that I'm having a bad day?"
Quite literally. Like, and it's honestly better to talk to the wall instead of these people because at least the wall knows how to shut up. Like, I'm sorry, but when have these people learned to be quiet in their lives? These kind of people will make you feel like you have to over-explain yourself for 3 minutes before saying a literal fact. Okay? And even if you gave an over explanation, these people would still find a way to misinterpret you. There's 2 main types of people, and usually the what about me-ism is often very, very characterized within them. So we have the overly sensitive, and then we have the over dramatic. I'm gonna go over these 2 personality types, but I also want to encourage you to introspect because you can actually be both. And what I mean by that is in different arguments, you might realize that you might be the instigator or the overdramatic one, or you might be the sensitive one or the victim. This isn't a permanent diagnosis. This is just a starting point for introspection, and by the end of this video, I'm going to be giving you guys my 4-step process on exactly how to maintain your sanity with these type of people, and also whether to gauge if an argument with someone is actually worth it. Because I'm going to tell you right now, some people do not have the intellectual capacity to understand you, so they will try to get you to step outside your character. They will be inflammatory on purpose. And that brings me into the first person, the drama seeker, okay? This individual will twist literally anything you say into a personal attack or some issue. These people never take accountability, and they're often very argumentative. They seem very self-assured, but under the surface, they're actually very insecure. So what I notice is the drama seeker will oftentimes have a big persona. They will be intentionally inflammatory because they actually get off on seeing you mad, seeing you step outside your character. And the more evidence they gather in order to be right about something, the easier it is for them to justify their mistreatment. Even if that mistreatment is name calling or yelling or anything like that, that still is mistreatment. Even if someone's mistreatment is weaponized incompetence and acting like, well, I wasn't saying that. I didn't know that was gonna hurt you. Yes, they did. Okay, yes, they did. They're arguing for personal validation, babe, and I want you to see through it. Another thing you'll notice about this person is they will call you oversensitive for setting boundaries on the way you want to be talked to, okay? They cannot and will not take accountability for your feelings. They'll say, I'm sorry you feel that way. Okay, that's what they'll say. I'm sorry you feel that way. Personality number 2 is the overly sensitive. Now, when I think of the what about me online, this is really who I think of. They take every piece of advice or anything you say as a personal attack. They are always the victim, okay? And the thing about victimization is there are actual victims, and then there are people who utilize victimization in order to gain attention or to gain some form of validation. This person argues to feel understood, and being misunderstood is a threat to their safety. They think that if someone doesn't think the way they do, that they are in opposition to them, when in reality, that might not be the case, okay? Not everyone is out to get you. They believe that their morality must be validated through empathy and conversation and being accepted, even if what they believe goes against facts, okay? Even if what they believe is a false belief. Now, here's the thing, you guys, both of these personalities are prone to echo chambers. The drama queen is constantly seeking out people to disagree with, and the overly sensitive will avoid anything that contradicts their worldview because anything that contradicts them is a personal attack. It is easier for these people to assume malintention with what people post and what people do and what people say because it gives them a sense of purpose to defend a certain point or idea or anything like that in order to be right. Both sides are fighting to be right. And the thing is, both of them are wrong, okay? Both of them are operating on the principle of what about me? What about this? Why not this? And they make every single little thing somehow about themselves. Wake up call, my friend. Not everything is about you. Okay? Take yourself off the pedestal, my friend. You are not that important. I'm not saying that to be mean. You can believe you are important to yourself, but when you start to make everyone else cater to you and make it seem like you're better than other people, that's not confidence, that's cockiness. And here's the thing, a lot of these people don't know how to put themselves in another person's shoes. There are two sides of the same exact coin. You have the drama addict who genuinely believes that their worldview is the right one and shields themselves from any other alternate information, and then you have the overly sensitive who genuinely believes that the impact of someone else's conflicting opinion is what's actively causing harm, when what's actively causing harm is their own mental prison that they have put themselves in that is based on false realities. Okay, and this is when I want to talk about objective and subjective truth, because a lot of people have been using those as buzzwords recently. I even saw a video on my feed the other day saying that objective truth isn't real, and I didn't watch it, but I just thought that was fascinating because I feel like when we start questioning what objective reality is, that's when we start getting ourselves in arguments with people where we're not even arguing about our interpretation of facts, we're arguing on two different facts, but I digress. It's to a point where science and facts nowadays seems like a lost art. We're not actually reading into psychological studies, we're reading the headliner and the abstract and not looking into where we're getting our facts from and what is defining our objective truth that we are arguing our subjective truths about. And for those who don't know what an objective versus a subjective truth is, an objective truth is a fact, okay? It's 2 + 2 = 4. It's the sky is blue. It's the mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. You get get what I mean? If I start to argue with you and you say that 2 + 2 is 6 and that anyone who disagrees with you is somehow causing you active harm, I'm gonna say it's your false belief that's causing you the active harm, not me telling you that your false belief is false. It's not a crazy idea that someone's subjective truth, which is basically your personal beliefs about something, that's your morals, your values, your religion, your, whatever, that's your subjective truth. That's how you see the world. But it's not a crazy idea that someone's subjective truth could be based on a false belief of an objective reality that they are denying. And this concept is actually elementary. While doing the research for this video, I came across a psychological study going over the theory of mind. This theory is made by David Premack and Guy Woodruff in the late 70s, and it's a psychological phenomenon where we realize that other people have their own thoughts, ideas, beliefs, and that those things don't always line up with our own. And this psychological phenomenon has been, debated about amongst psychologists. I'm not a psychologist, I'm just relaying the information. Now, there's many different psychological studies out there where psychologists have studied children from ages 4 to 7 or 8, and the entire idea of these studies was just to observe cognitive development in these kids to see where their theory of mind was in their cognitive development. For example, can they understand that a character in a movie might take an action that's based on a false belief? Most of those children with high theory of mind were able to understand that people can take actions that are built on false beliefs, okay? So all of this to say, this is a very elementary concept that some people can actually take actions based on things that aren't true. But something I found fascinating is that in these studies, higher theory of mind isn't always used for good. So some children who had higher theory of mind and were able to put themselves in another person's shoes often were more pro-social, were more agreeable, usually participated in cleaning up or helping around more, whereas the kids that had lower theory of mind skills, they had a hard time seeing how their actions would impact another person. However, there was an aspect of this study that I found fascinating, and that is certain children with a higher theory of mind would actually tend to manipulate. They would actually utilize their higher theory of mind in order to harm others. And to bring it all back around, when we think about online spaces nowadays, there are people who are genuinely incompetent, but then there's weaponized incompetence and people who assume that if they just play dumb and not understand the harm that they're causing, that we are somehow going to gain empathy for that person, because obviously they didn't know. They didn't know, you guys, just forgive them. And I think it's important to discern the difference, because I think nowadays it's so difficult to understand if someone's intentions are pure or if they're just putting up a front in order to save face. Essentially, just because someone can understand your perspective doesn't mean that they're going to be kind to you and doesn't mean that they're on your side. So if you're a person who often goes into your own oversensitivity, and this is coming from someone who used to be a really oversensitive person, stop letting your emotions dictate whether you do or don't do something, okay? Stop letting your emotions rule over everything you do to the point where you cannot function. If you see someone else talk about something and your first instinct is, what about me? Take a moment to introspect. The problem about what about me-ism is some people have genuinely never developed nuanced perspective taking, okay? There are some people where you're not arguing with them on an intellectual level because they never got there. And I'm not saying that to be like, oh, you're stupid. I'm literally just saying that because some people cannot put themselves in another person's shoes. There are people who genuinely do not have empathy in this world. Obviously, if you've made it this far in the video, like, you have empathy, you can comprehend complex topics, you can understand that different people from different backgrounds have different perspectives on things. Got it, right? But not everyone thinks this way. And that shocked me at first when I genuinely had to face the reality that, like, not everyone has empathy, not everyone can understand what another person is going through. Remember that, okay? A lot of people online assume that this solution to what about me-ism is actually, well, what about you-ism? Let me understand you. Let's all sit in a circle of kumbaya and share our opinions even if they're wrong and misogynistic and racist. Like, no, babe, I'm not gonna do that. I'm sorry. Some people have horrible opinions and I'm not gonna sit here and, like, be in a kumbaya circle. The reality is the world isn't peaceful And some people genuinely have harmful beliefs, and we need to center ourselves in the idea that there is harm with certain beliefs. Certain topics feel so polarizing where you want to like bang your head against a wall, because some people, we're not arguing on the same exact playing field. Like if you're gonna argue with me about objective reality, I'm not gonna argue with you because I'm not arguing with crazy. I'm not doing it. That or talking to someone who only cherry picks facts that they agree with. You get what I'm saying? It's like you're gonna bring a fact to the table and then it's gonna be a fact that only fits your narrative, but then completely negate another fact that doesn't fit your narrative. Like, make it make sense. And I now want to bring it into the 4 final points on how to discern if it's worth it, okay? How to discern if conversations with these people are actually worth it, because sometimes you're not on the same level. So the first thing I want you to do is ask yourself if they have the context you have. Sometimes people are arguing from a place of ignorance, not malice, okay? They are not trying to hurt you. They are just genuinely ignorant. And to clarify, obviously ignorance doesn't mean avoiding accountability. You can't be ignorant and also unaccountable. But when you check in with someone on where their intent was when they commented some "what about me," you can gauge whether this person was trying to intentionally hurt you or whether their opinion is just at odds with your own beliefs. Sometimes people are not arguing with you, they're arguing with a fragment of you. They're taking you out of context. They see one thing and then they don't read the rest, okay? Context is important. You see it all the time. People take things out of context all the time. When we acknowledge that others don't always have the same base level of knowledge that we might have, we understand that like we can come together and share knowledge, and we shouldn't just assume malintention when none is there. Number 2, ask clarifying questions. And this is even if you get a conversation with this person. If they're just saying shit to say shit, if they're just trying to rage bait you, okay, block, move on. But if it's someone close to you, ask clarifying questions. Be able to say, what do you mean by that? And listen to their response, because sometimes people understand what their impact is, not by you directly saying, you hurt me and I don't know why you would say that, but by you just being like, and what did you mean by that? And just giving them space to talk, because they'll either stand 10 toes down on what they said, or they'll retract what they said and realize that what they said was out of place. You can also temperature check. Like, you don't need to have everyone close to you, okay? Some people are better off as acquaintances and some people are better off out of your life. Which brings me into number 3, stop over explaining to people who constantly misrepresent you. If someone is constantly trying to misinterpret your point, they are not listening to you to understand you. They are hearing you to respond. They are trying to respond to you because your argument gives them a sense of moral authority, and if they see that they're right, they're going to feel good about themselves. Some people aren't able to feel good about themselves in any other way except for making you feel bad and making you question your own reality. And number 4, always stick to your morals. Opinions can change, trends come and go, but at the end of the day, if you don't know what you stand for, then are you ever going to take a stand for anything? Or are you just going to follow what any other person whose voice is louder than yours says? As my audience, I don't want you to blindly follow what I say. I want you to genuinely look into things for yourself. And if you don't ask yourself, what do I believe and why do I believe it, then do you even stand for anything at all? The second that you step outside your moral character in order to prove someone wrong, that is no longer your moral character. That was just a facade in order to make you look the part. Know what you stand for, because there's some people whose main goal is to make you step out of character. And the second you step out of character, no matter how morally correct you are in your belief, you're wrong. With that being said, you guys, those are the ways I'm going to be navigating my own life as of recently, and I hope you take something out of this, because I genuinely feel like for the longest time I've been scared to share my opinion or be authentically myself, even though I've made it this far. The internet is a scary place, and I'm just realizing if I don't stand for something, if I don't stand for what I believe in, then how am I gonna find my people? And I just love you guys so much. Like, I really appreciate the people who always watch my videos and always comment and cheer me on. Like, you guys have made a really hard part of my life a lot easier, so thank you for that, okay? Genuinely, I love you so much, okay? I love you guys.